My brother's kids arrived at my door before sunrise, shivering, barefoot, and barely breathing after escaping that freezing garage. When their parents tried to pin it on me, I handed the police the evidence they thought I'd never find. The banging started soft, a dull thud against wood that pulled me from the edge of sleep like a fishhook tearing through tender flesh. I lay there in the darkness of my duplex, heart already stuttering, body heavy with the bone-deep exhaustion of a 12-hour ER shift that had left me wringing blood and grief from my scrubs. The sound came again. 3 deliberate knocks. Then nothing. Only the wind screaming outside, clawing at the windows like it wanted in. I blinked at the ceiling, breath fogging in the frigid air. The heat had clicked off hours ago. The room felt like a tomb. Another knock, harder, desperate. I threw off the blankets and the cold slapped me awake, skin prickling into gooseflesh. The floor was ice against my bare feet as I stumbled to the door, phone clutched in trembling fingers. 4:32 a.m. glared white on the screen. No one knocks at this hour with good news. Never. I flicked on the porch light and yanked the door open, and the world tilted. Dean stood there, 11 years old and swaying, his little sister draped across his back like a broken doll. Hannah's head lolled against his shoulder, arms loose around his neck, pink princess nightgown soaked and clinging to her tiny frame. Dean's face was the color of death, lips purple, eyes glassy, the vacant stare I'd seen too many times on patients pulled from frozen rivers. He had no coat, just oil-stained garage rug draped over his shoulders, stiff with frost. He'd given her his coat. I didn't think. I just moved. Inside. Now. My voice came out flat, clinical, the tone I use when a kid codes and there's no time for panic. I reached for Hannah, lifted her off him. She weighed almost nothing, skin cold as marble, lips blue-gray, fingernails the color of ash. Her chest jerked with shallow, rapid breaths, each one a harsh, crowing stridor, like breathing through a crushed straw. Severe hypothermia, possible croup flare. Airway closing. The second her weight left him, Dean's legs folded. He crumpled to my floor in a heap, teeth chattering so violently I thought they'd shatter. I carried Hannah to the couch, laid her down, mind racing through protocols. Warm the core first, never the extremities. Avoid afterdrop. I piled every blanket I owned on her torso, tucking them tight around her neck and groin, leaving arms and legs exposed for now. Her breathing worsened, that awful stridor climbing higher. I ran to the bathroom, tore open the cabinet, hands shaking so hard the nebulizer box rattled. I'd bought it 6 months ago for a patient whose parents couldn't afford one. Never imagined I'd need it for my own blood. I ripped it open, filled the chamber with saline, fitted the mask over Hannah's tiny face. The machine hummed, mist pouring into her lungs. The stridor eased a fraction. Enough! Dean was still on the floor by the door, curled fetal, shivering so hard the comforter I'd thrown over him quivered. I grabbed my phone, hit 911, put it on speaker. This is Nurse Willow Hart, RN 4022. 2 pediatric emergencies at 447 Maple Grove, Unit B. Severe hypothermia, 1 with acute respiratory distress. Suspected child neglect. Send ambulance and police now. My voice didn't waver. Inside, I was screaming. I poured chocolate milk into a mug, microwaved it 40 seconds not too hot, just warm enough to coax heat back into a frozen core. Tested it on my wrist like I was still in PEDS, knelt beside Dean, slipped a straw between his cracked lips. He sipped, face twisting in agony as warmth met frozen tissue. Each swallow sounded like pain. I cataloged injuries with the cold precision I use on strangers. Frostbite on his toes, peeking through holes in soaked sneakers, both kids' malnourished cheekbones sharp, eyes sunken, dirty fingernails, greasy hair. These were Joshua's children. My brother, who lived in a 5-bedroom mansion with heated floors and a wine cellar worth more than my entire existence. He'd sent them into a blizzard in pajamas. Rage rose like bile, pure and acidic. I swallowed it down. Not now. Sirens finally cut through the wind. Red and blue lights painted my walls. The ambulance ride was a blur of beeping monitors and the hiss of oxygen. I sat beside Dean, holding his hand still so cold while the EMT worked on Hannah. I asked the question I ask every traumatized kid who can still talk. Can you tell me what happened tonight? Dean's voice was a cracked whisper. Mom and Dad left at 5. Casino opening. Told us to order pizza, be in bed by 9. He swallowed hard. At 10, the snow wasn't inside. I went to check the backyard. Told Hannah to wait in the living room. She got impatient, followed me out in just her nightgown. His fingers tightened on mine. The wind caught the door. Smart lock clicked. I tried the code. It didn't work. Phone died. I'd let Hannah play the restaurant game earlier. Forgot to charge it. Guilt flashed across his face, ancient and wrong on an 11-year-old. We went to the garage. I gave her my coat, wrapped myself in the rug. It got so cold. Garage isn't heated. Same as outside. 23 degrees. His voice fractured. Hannah started wheezing bad. I knew if we stayed, she'd die, so I carried her, 1 mile. Through the forest, the shortcut. You saved her life, I told him, voice rough. You saved both of you. At Mercy General, they rushed Hannah to ICU. Dean went to PEDS in a wheelchair, feet too damaged to walk. Officer Jasper took my statement in the hallway, pen digging grooves into his notepad as I recited temperatures, cyanosis, timelines. We'll find the parents, he said, and something dark moved behind his eyes. At 8 sharp, Carla Evans from CPS arrived, charcoal blazer, rimless glasses, no warmth. She assessed Dean like he was evidence, then turned to me. Emergency protective custody. Kinship care preferred, but your home must pass inspection tomorrow or they go into foster care. The words punched the air from my lungs. My duplex was a mess. 60-hour weeks don't leave time for childproofing. I straightened my spine. I'll handle it. I had less than 24 hours to turn my chaotic single-nurse apartment into a safe home for 2 broken children. I sold everything that wasn't nailed down. Grandma's diamond necklace, $3,800. My laptop, $900. The espresso machine that made hospital coffee taste like heaven, $600. Every dollar went into bunk beds, star-shaped nightlights, nebulizers, children's Tylenol, quilts the color of summer. When Joshua and Jane finally stumbled into the ER lobby at 9, reeking of gin and entitlement, Joshua tried to buy me. Willow, I'll pay off your loans. 70 grand, right? Just say it was an accident. I looked him in the eye. No. He grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise, hissed threats about my license. Then Dean, my brave, broken nephew, stood up on frostbitten feet and screamed, "Don't you touch her! You left us to die!" Security came. Handcuffs clicked. Joshua's face went gray as the metal locked around his wrists. Jane wailed for the cameras that weren't there yet. The home study the next day was brutal. Carla inspected every cabinet, every outlet cover, every receipt, proving I'd spent my last cent on those kids. She paused at the empty rectangle on my counter where the espresso machine used to live. Looked at the receipts. Stamped, passed. 3 days later, Hannah breathed on her own. Dean walked through my door holding her hand, eyes wide at the bunk beds, the teddy bears, the toy chest. Hannah handed Dean the blue bear. We match. I knelt. This is home now, forever if you want. Dean's gaze flicked to the empty counter, then back to me. He knew what I'd sold. He didn't say it. He didn't have to. 2 weeks later, Jane went live, tear-streaked makeup, and lies about jealous spinster aunts. My inbox exploded with hate. The hospital phones rang off the hook. I thought I'd lose my job. Instead, Dr. Grayson slid a defamation lawsuit across the desk and said, "We know the truth. We've got your back." A party guest came forward. Joshua had bragged about changing the door code remotely while drunk, never sent the new one to Dean. Server logs proved it. Jane violated bail with her live stream. Police arrested her mid-broadcast. 6 months later, the courtroom smelled of varnish and finality. Carla Evans testified about the wine cabinet better stocked than the refrigerator, the mattress on the floor, the child returning cans for lunch money. "I have never seen alcohol cared for better than children," she said. This wasn't neglect. This was calculated torture. Joshua got 5 years. Jane got 2. Parental rights terminated. The mansion was sold. $300,000 went into a trust for Dean and Hannah. 40% of Joshua's future income garnished forever. 2 years later, I stand in the backyard of the house that is actually ours. No mortgage, no landlord, just a deed with my name on it. Dean, 13 now, pitches baseballs to Dr. Aaron Mitchell, who never left after treating my bruised arm that night. Who became the father these kids needed? Hannah, 9, draws chalk flowers on the patio while Snow the cat naps in a sunbeam, fat and spoiled. On my birthday, Dean hands me a small box wrapped in newspaper. Inside, a silver keychain engraved Home. Thank you for opening the door that night, he says, voice cracking like it still does sometimes. And thank you for selling your coffee machine. I knew, I always knew. I clutch the keychain warm metal, nothing like the cold, smart lock that started it all, and I hold them both so tight I feel their heartbeats against mine. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every tear I didn't let fall until it was safe worth it. We are home. Finally, truly, irrevocably home.